Hello everybody, Cortney Nicole here from How to Loom Your Dragon. I'm going to do another quick painting tutorial with you today of a night sky, and I will be teaching you how to create tints with paint. Okay, so you can skip to the end of this video to see what this painting will look like and whether or not you want to take part in making this. I ran out of canvases, so I am using a piece of thick, it's actually printing paper, but you can use like thick watercolor paper or preferably a canvas. And then what I did was I put tape along the edges, which will at the end create a nice effect when I pull it off, and then we'll have clean edges for the painting. Okay, that's totally optional. Okay, you can totally do a canvas. Alright, what you'll need today are 3 different types of brushes. So I'm going to use a fan brush for the grass and the trees. Okay, a flat-tipped brush for the sky. Okay, for doing the tints with. Now I only have my really bad brushes here because my good ones are at an art studio, so I do not have my good ones with me today, so I have to deal with my poor quality brushes, but oh well. And then a skinny brush to do the stars with, okay, in the sky. You'll also need a palette, or you can use a paper plate, that's fine too. A cup of water to rinse your brushes, and then I have white acrylic paint, black acrylic paint, a little bit of green, a little bit of yellow, and then you can choose a sky color. So I'm choosing a ultramarine blue for the sky, but you can do whatever color you want in the sky. It would look cool if actually you used like a different color than blue, but I am using blue. Okay, so let's begin here. I'm going to do my best. My voice is a little hoarse because I have a little bit of a cold today, but I do not like to sit around and do nothing, so I figured I would just film another video for you all. Okay, so first we're going to start with the sky. When we paint, we always want to start background to foreground. So that means we're going to start with the sky and then do the land and trees at the end. Okay, so take your palette or paper plate, get that ready, and you are going to take your sky color. So for me, like I said, that was an aqua ultramarine blue. Okay, and I'm going to squeeze some of that onto my palette. Like that. And then we're going to need a bunch of white. Hopefully I have enough white in here. If not, I'm going to have to go around and get some more. I have a bunch of different brands here that I'm using, but it's fine to stick with one brand. I'm just using what I have remaining. Okay, so I'm going to really put a bunch of white on here. Okay. So like this so far, and then if I need more, I'll add more. I'm going to put a little bit of yellow. Actually, I'm going to just start with this because I don't want the other colors to dry out. Okay, so what a tint is when we add white to a color to brighten it up or to lighten it up. Okay, so I'm going to be making a night sky here. So when we paint, you know, I just said we start background, and we start in the background and then move to the foreground. Okay, so and when we paint, we also want to start with the lightest colors and then move to the dark. So we're going to paint the sky, and we're going to start with the light and then do the dark. Okay, so I'm going to start with the white. Okay, so I'm going to just go into some white with that flat-tipped brush, and I'm going to choose where I want the moon to be. Don't put it up here in the corner. A lot of kids especially like to draw their suns and moons peeking through the corner here, but that is very amateurish, so you know, I encourage you to put your moon somewhere else. Okay, so I'm going to put mine here. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're just going to take that white and you are going to just kind of paint a circle as best you can with the white. Okay, and now we're going to make our first tint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a bunch of this white out, probably a little more than half of it, but I do want to keep some away from it just in case I need it. Okay, so I have a bunch of white here. I'm going to take a tiny, tiny bit of blue from the edge, and I'm going to mix that into my big hunk of white. So this is going to be my first tint of blue. So really, really mix that so you get a really, really, really light tint. It still almost looks completely white, but you can see very, 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 very light blue in there. Okay. So once I've done that, I'm just going to take a little bit on my brush, and your brush will probably get pretty messy, especially if you're mixing with it. But make sure you get all the blue off your brush, so really mix that in. Okay, so now I'm going to take that light blue and I'm going to paint a circle around my white. Try to make it as round as you can. And for me this is tricky because my computer is in the way, so it's not going to be perfectly round. So just try to make a nice circular circle, if that makes sense. Like that. Okay, now I'm going to make my next tint. So I'm going to take a little bit more blue and mix it into that same hunk of white, or that hunk of white, light blue. Okay, you want to mix it all the way. Okay, you can kind of turn your brush in there. So now it's a little bit of a darker tint. And if your brush gets too chunky with paint, you can always wipe it on like a paint, like an old t-shirt or something. Let me just grab my old t-shirt because I forgot it. Or you can wipe it on like a paper towel. Okay, so you really don't want your brush to look that messy, so. Alright, so I wiped it off. Now it looks like this. And now I'm going to take that new light blue and I'm going to paint another circle around the first circle. Now if it matches the color exactly, we want to put a little bit of more blue in that white. So I can't tell the difference between these two. So I'm going to add a little bit of more blue. Because you do want it to be darker than the first one. See, even I need to practice my tints. Okay. Alright, anyway. There we go. So now I can tell that it's a darker tint now. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe my brush off on the t-shirt. And then I'm going to gently, with the dry brush now, just kind of go in between the colors. I can do it with my finger too. Let's do it with our finger. Just go in between the colors and blend them with your finger. There we go. Right. Now let's add a little bit of more blue for our next tint. Okay. So So this one we want a little bit darker. Okay. And we will do the same thing. So now we're going to paint another circle. Okay, like so. Then you want to dry your brush, and then go back with your finger and just blend the edge here, like so. Sometimes I really try to be a perfectionist with this, but okay. And you guessed it, now we're going to add more dark blue. I'm going to add a little bit of a bigger chunk now. So we are just gradually making this blob of paint darker. Okay. And as you can see, I'm kind of painting right over the tape, which is okay because we will be peeling that off later. Okay, and take your finger and just blend that edge. Great. Alright, let's do a darker one now, so I'm going to take a bigger hunk of the dark blue and blend that in. Okay, it's going to take a minute to mix it up. Okay. Yay! Isn't this fun? Okay. So now we're going to add more blue. I'm going to take a big hunk this time. Okay, really blend it. So we are getting many tints of this blue now in this painting. Okie doke. Now we're going to go even darker, so add some more blue. I'm going to add a little extra because I do want it to be almost, well, not quite, but pretty dark now. Okay, I'm going to do one more, so I'm going to add a big hunk of blue. Okay, so now it's pretty dark, but still not as dark as the original blue. We have like the worst stand ever. Like, it was so cheap and it doesn't even like hold up well, so in the middle of this tutorial my stand might just fall and collapse. It's totally possible. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to go to the main blue. Okay, so the one right straight from the tube. So I need a little bit more here. Okay, and I'm going to rinse my brush off so it's clean in the water. And I'm going to dry it on the t-shirt or the paper towel. This is like the worst paintbrush ever. Okay, and now I'm going to go straight into that blue from the tube And I'm going to fill in the rest of the sky, but keep in mind that I'm painting in the direction of the rest of the brush stroke, so I'm not going this way. I'm still like kind of painting in a circle, but I'm going to leave the bottom area white because we're going to put some land in there. Okay, so I'm going to go along the edge here. Okay, I can use my finger to blend that so it doesn't dry. Okay, and my hands are completely messy now. I'm going to fill in the rest of the sky area. And I'm going to leave some white on the bottom for my land. This paint takes a long time to dry on this paper. This is printmaking paper, so for some reason the paint takes a long time to dry on this, but if you're painting on like a canvas, it should dry a little quicker, which is good. Okay, so I want to make sure that I got all that. Okay, let me fill that in so it's nice and dark. Okay, great. So it looks like that now. Now I'm going to rinse my brush. Actually, I don't need this brush anymore for this painting. I'm just going to let it sit in my water and soak a little bit, but you don't want to leave it in the water for too long. Okay, I'm going to take some black paint onto my palette. Okay, just straight up black. Okay. And now I'm going to take that fan brush. Where are you, fan brush? Okay, I'm going to take my fan brush and I'm going to dip the tip in the black paint, like so. You don't want it to be too loaded on too much. So you want to dip it in and then kind of wipe some off so it looks like this. Okay. And then we're going to create some grass, and so I'm going to see, this is hard, the angle that this is at, but I'm going to take this off briefly so I can show you what I mean. Okay, you want to hold the painting flat. Move this for a second. So the way we do the grass is you want to hold the painting like flat down, and you want to hold the brush parallel to the painting, and then you want to dab the grass on. So I have the black on my brush. Ugh. Sorry, this is difficult to show you. Okay, and then I want to dab this. So I'm pressing and pushing up, pressing and pushing up, pressing and pushing up. This is important at the top. See how I'm doing the top area? And I'm kind of overlapping my blues a little bit. This is going to be my grass, and it doesn't have to be a straight black line because it can be like a hilly, grassy area. So now see how that kind of looks like grass now, because I dabbed and pushed up with the fan brush. So I'm going to continue doing that. Okay, and make my grassy areas. covering up all the white areas, and it's okay to overlap the blue a little bit. And I'm just going to do that with the rest of it as well. So I'm dabbing on grass. Just kind of a, might be difficult to tell because everything looks shiny in the camera right now, but I'll show you at the end. And it's okay to leave a few light areas in here. That's totally fine. So you want the majority of it to be black, but it's okay to leave some whiter areas in the grass. But you don't want to leave too many white areas, so I'm going to continue covering up most of this with black. Okay, so it looks like this. Okay, and I can always go back and just perfect things a little bit. Like the grass. Maybe I want to push up a little better. Okay, so now it looks like this. Okay, alright, now we're going to make a tree. Okay, let's see if I can place this back on my easel without collapsing the whole thing. It's not holding this up very well. Grr. Oh well. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to make a tree, so I'm going to take black with my fan brush. Okay, I'm going to use the edge of the fan brush. Okay, so I'm just putting black on the edge. Okay, just on the edge. You can dab a little bit off. This is kind of like Bob Ross style trees. And I'm going to put two, so I'm going to put one here. So I'm just going to use that edge of the fan brush and just dab back and forth I'm going to put some, this is going to be like an evergreen tree, okay? I'm just going to dab back and forth with it. Okay, maybe I want to make it a little taller. So it'll come to a point at the top. Okay, and then I wanted to put another one, maybe I want to put another one over here where it's a little darker. So I'll do that as well. You start at the top or the bottom. Okay, so I made 2 trees. Alright, I'm going to drop this brush into the water. Okay, I'm going to use that skinny brush now. Okay, I'm going to go into the black, and I can kind of, only if you need to, just kind of perfect these branches just a little bit. Okay, so I don't feel like both sides of the tree have to be the same, because they don't. Okay, so maybe I just want to thicken up some of these areas in the tree, which is fine. Okay, maybe I want to put a little trunk in here. Okay, and I'm going to do the same to my big guy over here, so I'll perfect some of his branches. I know he's kind of hard for you to see. A little trunk on him. Okay, great. You know, maybe I want to put one more little tree here. I just want to put a tiny guy here. So you can use that small brush or your fan brush. And maybe this tree is not as fancy as the other trees, so maybe he needs a little more loving. He needs a little loving, this poor little tree. Okay, so let's say that's what I like that. Okay, well, I put enough trees. Don't cover trees everywhere because you want to see some gaps in there. Okay, to create some balance. Okay. Alright, I just want to darken up here because the sky paint is still wet, and I just want to make sure it's not blending too much with the trees there. Okay, now I'm going to rinse my brush really good because we're also going to use this little brush to make the stars, which we'll do now while the ground dries a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to use my white, and if I want to add a tiny, tiny bit of yellow into my stars, I can. Okay. You know, stars actually come in a lot of colors. There's blue stars, red stars, and yellow, I think, or white, or... So if you want to put different color stars in, you can. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to use a tiny, tiny bit of yellow into a bunch of white, so you can take some of that white out, the plain white, and mix a tiny, tiny bit of yellow into it, so that it's mostly white with like just a hint of yellow. Okay. And now I'm just going to make sure the tip of my brush is full of paint, just the tip really is important here. And I'm going to gently dab. Okay, some I can dab a little harder to get bigger stars, and some a little lighter to get small stars. Okay, and you want to constantly be going back into the paint to make sure that the tip of your brush doesn't dry out. So remember, these are stars, this isn't snow. Well, you can turn it into snow if you want. If you turn it into snow, you can put it in front of the trees as well, but since I'm doing stars, it needs to stay in the sky behind the trees. See, I don't have my really good brush, so my really good skinny brush would make these perfect circles, but of course I don't have that here. Figures. You can dip your brush in a little bit of water to soften up the paint if it's too thick. And then I'm also going to put some into the tints. Ugh. Not good. Gore. This is so hard with the computer in the way and my thing about to fall down. Just go slow, Cortney, just go slow. And you can put fewer stars or more stars than I'm putting. Okay. Got paint on my sweatshirt. I think I'm gonna cry. Erg. Anyway, so you take an eternity to paint the stars. An eternity. I feel like I've been doing this for like hours. Okay. So you've painted a bunch of stars. You can rinse your brush. Okay. And we're just going to take that fan brush, make sure it's nice and rinsed. Okay. Rinse that fan brush and dry it. Okay, and I'm just going to take some green. This is like a dark sap green color. Just put a little bit on your palette. And take that fan brush, make sure it's dry. Okay. And we're going to dip the tips into that green. Okay, like that. And then we're going to brighten up some of the tree. So this is the moon, and the moon is on this side of the tree. So this is the side we're going to lighten up on this tree, okay? Whichever side is closest to the moon, you want to use that green to just dab a little bit along the edge of the branches. Same thing on this guy. So just on the one side. Okay, and this guy, he's kind of right underneath, so I'm gonna put a little bit on the top and then on a little bit on both sides here. Okay, and then I'm just gonna put a little bit of green into the grass at the top. Okay, because the grass is also gonna reflect the moon. You can do a better job than me. I'm doing a bad job because the computer's in the way. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit, maybe occasionally a little bit here. Spread it out a little bit. Don't put too much though, we just want to put a little bit. It'd be hard to see, but when you're done, you should be able to see it. Okay. Great. And when you're done, we'll take that skinny brush one more time. And I'm going to go into the white paint with the tip and sign it on the bottom corner. Now my computer is reflecting, or it's mirroring the image, so I like to sign on the bottom left. On the screen it's going to show me signing in the bottom right, but just so you know, it's the bottom left. And I have a terrible brush, so of course the signature is going to turn out terrible. Ooh. Terrible signature, man. Yeah, I don't like that signature at all because I have a terrible brush, so I'm just going to cover it up and I'll sign it with a better brush later. But you get the point. So sign your painting. I need to dry my hands off and I'll show you how to, or that, show you that we want to take the tape off. Hopefully my hands aren't too full of paint. Okay. I have so much paint on my hands right now. Okay. Alright, so now I want to take the tape off the edge. So make sure your hands are clean. Mine are not, but they should be clean. And then you're going to gently peel the tape. And as you can see, you'll get this nice, clean edge. It's always better to use painter's tape than masking tape, but that's what I had, so. Because the masking tape can kind of tear the paper a little bit. Okay, throw that away. And there you have, move this so it's not away. It's okay. And then you have a beautiful, beautiful painting, okay, where you use lots of tints to create your sky. Okay, well, that's about it. I hope you all enjoyed this painting tutorial and you made plenty of beautiful tints and a beautiful sky. Alright, frame it, hang it somewhere nice, okay, and that's about it. So have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye!